Okay, so today we're going deep on financial literacy.
All right.
Yeah, and specifically this book, Financial Literacy for All by John Hope Bryant.
Oh, cool.
And you send over some really interesting sources about this. And
Yeah.
I think what we really want to do is like pull out the core stuff.
Okay.
Like why is financial literacy such a big deal in America? What's the historical context here? And what can we actually do to make things better?
Yeah, totally.
I'm also really curious about the connection between, like your own personal finances and these huge, broader societal issues.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's so fascinating about this book right away is how Bryant frames it. It's not just like balancing your checkbook.
Right.
It's about, freedom.
Yeah.
It's about control. It's about shaping your own future.
Yeah.
Like having the knowledge to really make choices.
Absolutely.
And I think that speaks to, your interest in just being empowered.
Yeah.
And informed.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at these excerpts, this book, it's like a tapestry of personal stories, history, and then practical ideas.
Right.
But everything circles back to financial literacy. Like it's fundamental.
It is.
And, right away, Bryant just comes out with this huge statement.
Right.
He says, financial literacy is the civil rights issue of our time.
It is a bold statement, right?
Yeah.
But he backs it up with history.
Okay.
He goes back to Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, wow.
1865, after the Civil War.
Yeah.
Lincoln creates the Freedmen's Bank.
Okay.
And it wasn't just any bank.
Yeah.
It was to teach formerly enslaved people about money.
Wow.
Like right from the start. Financial understanding was seen as essential for freedom. And the fact that the U.S. Treasury Annex building was renamed the Freedmen's Bank building just recently in 2016.
Wow.
Like this powerful echo.
Yeah, that's a really striking parallel.
It is.
And then you look at how big this problem is today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost unbelievable. The book cites an estimate from the National Financial Educators Council
Okay.
saying that in 2023, a lack of financial knowledge cost Americans $388 billion.
Oh, wow.
That's not just some random number, right?
It's mind-boggling. If you think about it, $388 billion is like what Amazon or Apple makes in a year.
Oh, wow.
It's like the GDP of a whole country, like Ireland or Denmark.
That's huge.
So it's not just the number, it's what it represents. All this potential just lost because people don't understand basic financial stuff.
Right.
It affects everything.
Yeah.
From personal savings to the whole economy.
It really hits home when you think about everyday lives.
Yeah.
Like the book talks about just balancing your checkbook.
Right.
Or understanding interest rates.
Right.
Like how much it costs to borrow money.
Right.
Or how much you earn when you save.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming if you don't have that foundation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The book's take on credit is really interesting. It's like a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's democratized access to so much.
Right.
Education businesses, buying a home. It can be a huge tool for opportunity.
Totally.
Yeah.
But like the book says, if you don't understand it,
Yeah.
it can be a disaster.
Yeah.
Like that example with the $10,000 car.
Right.
You put it on a credit card with 14% interest.
Yeah.
And you're only making the minimum payments.
Yeah.
You're talking about more than 10 years to pay it off.
And you end up paying double.
Yeah, more than double.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even really touch the principal.
It's scary.
It is. So you can't just look at the monthly payment.
Exactly. You have to understand the whole loan.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is what the book says about car dealerships.
Okay.
A lot of people think they make most of their money selling cars.
Right.
But it's actually often the financing and the maintenance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, being financially savvy when you're buying a car is super important.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just big purchases.
Right.
The book talks about the retirement crisis too.
Yeah.
So many people just don't save enough.
It's a huge problem.
And a big reason is they don't understand compound interest. That's like earning interest on your interest.
It's like a snowball effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's all the tax advantages of different retirement accounts.
Right.
But if you don't know about them, you're missing out.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, so this lack of financial literacy, it's not just a random thing. It's a huge issue with deep roots.
It is, and it doesn't affect everyone equally.
Right.
Low income communities really bear the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Predatory lending,
Yeah.
bad credit scores, limited opportunities.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. The book talks about how these high-cost financial services, like payday lenders,
Right.
they specifically target people who are already struggling,
Yeah.
trapping them in debt,
Right.
ruining their credit even further.
Yeah. And Bryant talks about these 500 credit score communities
Right.
where the average credit score is just so low.
Yeah, like 500, that's considered very poor credit.
Yeah.
And he says you find all these societal problems concentrated there.
Yep.
Check cashing places, payday lenders, rent-to-own stores.
Wow.
They're all preying on people.
It's like they're shut out of the system.
Exactly. And that has huge consequences.
Yeah.
You know, paying more for everything.
Right.
Fewer opportunities to get ahead.
And to understand it, you have to look at the history.
Absolutely.
Like the book goes back to the Freedmen's Bank,
yeah.
which failed in 1874.
Yeah,
60,000 black depositors lost everything,
that's right.
and the government didn't bail them out.
It's a huge injustice.
It is.
Especially when you compare it to later bailouts.
Right.
You know, for big banks.
Yeah, and then you have the destruction of Black Wall Street in Tulsa,
Right.
in Rosewood, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those weren't just acts of violence. It was economic warfare. Deliberately targeting black wealth.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
And then there's the Homestead Act of 1862.
yeah.
96% of the land grants went to white families.
It's staggering.
Yeah.
And then 40 acres and a mule.
Right.
The broken promise.
Yeah.
They took the land back and gave it to segregationists.
It's just layers upon layers of systemic barriers.
It is. And then you have the GI Bill after World War II.
Right.
Black veterans were largely excluded from the benefits.
Yeah, the benefits that helped build the middle class for so many others.
Right. And then redlining in the 1930s, denying mortgages in minority neighborhoods.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
It's really hard to hear about all this.
It is. And Bryant really emphasizes that this wasn't ancient history.
Yeah.
This was just a generation or two ago for many people.
Yeah.
So when you hear people say, oh, things have changed.
Right.
Everyone should be fine now.
Yeah.
But that ignores the legacy of all this. The effects are still felt today.
Absolutely. And
Right.
it brings us to how the American dream itself has changed.
Right.
And how important financial literacy is in this new landscape.
Yeah.
Like the book talks about the shift from the industrial age, where you could get a factory job with a high school diploma
Right.
and have a pretty stable middle class life,
Yeah.
to the information age,
Right.
where those jobs are gone.
Yeah.
And it's much more complex.
It is.
The book calls it the illusion of success.
Okay.
You know, this idea that spending money equals financial freedom,
Yeah.
but it's not the same thing.
Right. It's about keeping up with the Joneses
Exactly.
instead of building real wealth.
And with most families needing two incomes now,
Yeah.
financial literacy is even more important for women.
Absolutely.
You know, it's about their economic freedom
Yeah.
and the stability of the whole family.
Right. And all the traditional ways of building wealth, owning a home, investing in the stock market, starting a business,
Yeah.
they all require financial knowledge. You know, the book actually still believes in homeownership,
Oh.
even though some people don't.
Yeah,
But it's complicated.
it is.
Mortgages, property taxes, the whole real estate market,
Right.
it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's student debt.
Oh, yeah,
College is so expensive now.
it is.
People need to really think about the return on investment of their degree.
Right?
And the book also talks about vocational schools,
Yeah.
you know, learning a trade,
Right?
paying jobs without all the debt.
Exactly. And, you know, living paycheck to paycheck isn't just a low-income problem anymore.
You're right.
The book says it affects people making six figures, too.
Wow.
It's because of lifestyle inflation.
Yeah.
Your spending goes up as your income does.
Right. So you're not really getting ahead.
Exactly. And then there's the retirement crisis.
Yeah.
Pensions are disappearing. Social Security might not be enough.
It's a scary thought.
It is. So people really need to save for themselves.
And the book says that 2/3 of millennials have nothing saved for retirement.
That's terrifying.
It's a wake-up call.
It is.
Well, what do we do?
Right. So the book shifts to solutions.
Okay.
It's about empowerment through education and action.
Yeah.
But it's honest.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
It says we need individual initiative, but we also can't ignore the systemic barriers.
Right.
It's both.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a big emphasis on moving away from fast money.
Okay.
You know, those get-rich-quick schemes.
Right.
It's about building a legacy.
Yeah.
Through investing compound interest generational wealth.
Yeah, those are long-term strategies.
They are.
And the book highlights early financial education.
Yes, it's so important.
Yeah.
Studies show that if young people learn about finances,
Yeah.
they're more likely to save and invest wisely.
It's not just about reading textbooks.
Right.
It's about hands-on learning.
Yeah, experiential learning.
Exactly, like workshops,
Yeah.
mock investment portfolios,
Right.
simulation.
Making it real.
Exactly. And the book makes this interesting connection between STEM education,
Okay.
science, technology, engineering, math,
Right.
and financial empowerment.
Yeah.
Because in today's job market,
Right.
you need those skills.
You do.
And if low-income communities are left behind,
Right.
they're going to struggle.
Absolutely.
And the book talks about community. You know,
Yeah.
like it takes a village
It does.
to build financial well-being.
Right.
Support networks, sharing knowledge.
That's all connected.
Yeah. And it talks about child savings accounts,
CSAs.
CSAs, where even small amounts of money can make a big difference.
They can?
Like low-income kids with savings are more likely to go to college.
Yeah.
It's not just the money.
Right.
It's the mindset.
It is.
And the book stresses making financial education accessible.
Absolutely.
Meeting people where they are,
Yeah.
relevant curricular, convenient times, affordable options, and using technology for personalized learning.
Right. Tailoring it to each person's needs.
Yeah. And it talks about public-private partnerships.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, corporations stepping up,
Yeah.
supporting financial literacy in their communities.
Right.
Like the Money Sense program in Singapore,
Right.
where the government works with businesses and community groups.
Yeah. It's a great model.
Yeah. And the book also talks about empowering entrepreneurs.
Yeah, especially minority entrepreneurs
Right.
who face so many barriers.
Yeah.
So things like microfinancing, targeted investment,
Yeah.
community lending,
Right.
and then mentorship and training.
It's about giving them the tools to succeed.
Exactly. And speaking of mentors,
Yeah.
role models are so important.
Yeah.
Seeing someone from your background succeed
Yeah.
can be really inspiring.
Yeah.
And a mentor can give you guidance connections.
Right.
The book says that just 5% of positive role models can stabilize a community.
That's amazing.
It is.
And more companies are offering financial wellness programs like workshops, coaching, even emergency savings accounts.
Right.
It's a benefit for employees,
It is.
and it helps the company too.
It does. Delta's Hope Inside the Workplace program is a great example.
Yeah.
They really encourage saving.
And the book talks about credit scores
Yes.
and how important it is to raise average credit scores in communities.
Right.
They have the Hope Financial Wellness Index to measure that.
Right. And it's amazing how much of a difference even a small increase can make.
Yeah.
Less crime, more stable families,
Yeah.
more home ownership, even longer life expectancy.
Yeah, they said a 120-point difference in credit score could mean 15 extra years of life.
It's crazy.
It is. So the goal is to get communities to an average of 700.
Yeah, that opens up so much
Right.
access to loans opportunities.
Right, but right now, half of Black America has a credit score below 640.
It's a huge disadvantage.
It is, and you know, we have to make financial literacy cool.
Yeah, especially for young people.
Yeah.
We need to use pop culture influencers games, partner with brands,
Right,
make it engaging.
exactly.
And there's this financial literacy for all initiative.
FL4A.
FL4A, a 10-year movement with almost 50 companies.
Yeah.
They want to bring financial literacy to schools, workplaces, and communities.
It's a huge effort,
It is.
and they're doing some really cool stuff.
Like what?
Well, Delta has that workplace savings program.
Yeah.
Walmart's working with Khan Academy on financial courses.
Okay.
Dow Jones is creating content, and Operation Hope is doing coaching.
Yeah, that's great. And the book also reminds us that there are free resources available
Yeah.
from the government and nonprofits,
Yeah.
like Operation Hope's FL4A resource library and mymoney.gov.
Those are great places to start.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder to think about the motives.
Okay.
You know, if a for-profit company is offering you financial education,
Right.
what's in it for them?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So the big takeaway here is that financial literacy isn't just a personal thing.
It's essential for a healthy society
Absolutely.
and for a more equitable American dream.
Yeah.
So for you listening,
Right.
you've now got a much deeper understanding of this issue
Yeah.
and some ideas for what we can do about it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and we really encourage you to think about how this connects to your own life
Right.
and the things that resonated with you from the book.
Yeah.
And, you know, check out those free resources.
Absolutely.
Think about the history, the systemic barriers,
Yeah.
and how you can get involved in your own community, maybe even your workplace,
Yeah.
because real change starts with understanding.
It does.
So our final thought for you today is this. What one small step will you take today to improve your own financial literacy
Yeah.
or to share this knowledge with someone else?
It's a great question to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.